Ready to go.
We're hungry.
Give it to us.
Wow. All right. All right. Thank you. I need that kind of motivation. For real. For real. You ready to go on the way to mastery?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Take a breath for a minute. Let us create together. Let us create together the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Let us create together the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Let's create together the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Let's create together the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let's create together the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Let go of any insane desire you have for normal thinking for the next hour or so. Entertain the idea that what you know may not be all there is to know. Just entertain the idea that you may not know everything. I know it's a stretch. But entertain the idea that you may not know everything. That you are here to create. You're not here to worry. You're not here to worry and be concerned and unhappy and afraid. You're not here to feel guilty or depressed or to experience lack or to feel alone. You're here to create. The way of mastery teaches us how to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. This is the way of transformation. We're in this part of the book that is called The Way of Transformation. And we're on page 230 in The Way of Transformation. And we are starting with the paragraph on that page that starts with the illusion, by the way. And I'm going to go through the paragraph and then we're going to talk about it. The illusion, by the way, is not the physical body. When you hear the term the illusion, it says the illusion, by the way, is not the physical body, nor is the illusion the physical dimension, since in reality, the physical dimension does not exist. What exists is thought. This is thought, streaming forth from the mind, creating and outpicturing that which has been held within the mind. What we are experiencing right now is the outpicturing of what is thought within our mind. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're experiencing in this very moment. And everything that you are experiencing as your physical reality is really thought that's streaming forth from your mind. That's what your bank account is. That's what your love life is. That's what your spiritual awareness is. That's what this whole day has been. It's been an outpicturing of thought that's streaming from your mind. The collection agency. The fabulous trip, the incredible weekend. It's all thought streaming from your mind. That person that you feel that you adore and that adores you. The friendships that you treasure. The body. It's just thought streaming from your mind. So the very physical body becomes only a symbol of what the mind has decided to believe, such as, surely I am separate from God. That is the outpicturing I want. So I will look upon a physical body, identify myself with it, and therefore seem to peer out from the body and see a great distance between me and you. I say it again. I'm looking at the physical body, identifying myself with the physical body, and then it looks like I'm inside the body looking at you a certain distance away from me. Is that the way it looks like to you too? Right. He says, and surely there must be this, if it's this space between me and you, then surely there must be this unfathomable gulf between me and God. When your perception has been cleansed, when your way of seeing things has been purified, the body itself becomes transparent. Wow. To consciousness, to the witnessing awareness of the mind. In other words, the mind sees no longer that with which it is identified. your mind will begin to see only the phenomena of mental energy temporarily being played out in the field of space and time. So it looks like we're in a way of mastery class, but the truth is we're just looking at a phenomena of mental energy that's temporarily being played out in the field of space and time. I'm going to say that again. What we're looking at is a phenomena of mental energy being played out in the field of space and time. And so when your perception has been purified and you're finally seeing things through love and you're finally seeing things through the truth, then your body no longer becomes a barrier and your body no longer is ever an obstacle for you. The Course in Miracles says that when you're using the body correctly, it will never get sick, it will never age, it will never change, it will not need food, and it will not need drink. Well, based on that, I got a while to go on correct perception.
Yes.
He got the little yellow bus outside waiting for us in the soul school, because it's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
If I'm really seeing you with true love, then my body will heal. It kind of really makes sense, though. It would make sense that if my mind was full of anger, guilt, grievances, separation, hostility, and guilt, that those thoughts would have an effect on my body and on my perception of the world.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense that the more correctly I see things, the more healed the body is, and the more loving what I see is in front of my face. That way you can keep from fooling yourself about whether or not you're really changing your mind. If you're really changing your mind, your experience should be becoming more and more peaceful to you. That doesn't mean you're getting necessarily more money or less money. Doesn't mean necessarily you're getting a mansion or a shack. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to be the president of the company or you'll be the street sweeper. None of that will matter when you're beginning to heal your mind, because when you begin to heal your mind, you won't feel anything but joy and peace and happiness, no matter what the situation that you're in physically. These truth books kind of drive you crazy because you can't successfully be in denial like you used to be. You know what I'm saying? Because it tells you the way you would be if you were looking at things in a loving, correct way. And so immediately you can compare your present state to what it's saying. And then you have to get real honest with yourself about where your mind is, which is beautiful because at that point you can be healed. So it says that the body will no longer become a barrier or obstacle to overcome. The body itself is no longer seen and perceived as something that can bring love to it. So you're going to stop seeing your body as the way to get people to love you. You're going to stop thinking that it's your body that you got to pay the most attention to make sure somebody wants you. Damn, put all the 24-hour fitness right out of business really quick. Because there are many people that are there not just for the health of their body. They're there to make their body better bait, to catch a better fish. As the Course calls it. The Course calls the body bait. I think that's such a great definition. You know? And let me tell you, my old bait ain't like it used to be.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to get a net. I'm just gonna have to scoop something up out of the lake. Nobody's biting anymore.
Gotta go the old school fish.
I gotta get the old school fish. Huh? That's all right.
It's all right.
That's all right. Oh, my inner voice always tells me, don't lose your sense of humor. Don't lose your sense of, no matter what. Don't lose your sense of humor about this, because that's how you got trapped in fear in the first place. Is you took it all too seriously. You know, so you can't really get the truth by being too serious. And the temptation is to be serious. So I have to catch myself. And then sometimes you all look serious. Y'all look serious, like as a mother sometimes.
It's easier tonight not to be serious with your glasses. Thank you.
Great. Well, I'm looking through the eyes of love.
That's right. We're looking.
You know what's such a trip about these glasses is that, and they're prescription.
Yeah.
The thing that's such a trip about them is that from my perspective, when I look out at you, I don't see this. I just see a heart. So when I'm looking out at you, I just see all of you just framed in a big heart. Just like that. And so I'd like to say to you, every time I look at any of y'all, I get a big heart on. I really want y'all to know I get a big heart on every time I'm around you. Just want to let you know. Any of y'all get a big heart on?
Yeah.
Yes, good. Good. That's what we need to do for each other. Yeah, that's great. So, I'm trying to be inconspicuous. So I'll say it again. When you begin to see correctly, you'll stop seeing as your body as something that can bring love to it, or can reach out and attract or draw to itself what has been perceived as valuable in the world, because the purpose that you've given your body is that it's supposed to go out and get you what you perceive as valuable. That's why that's how you got here tonight. Your body, when you reached out in your body, so that you could let your body take you to what you think is valuable. You call it a date. Right? Rather, the body becomes one thing when you really wake up and you really start to see correctly. The way a mastery says, the body becomes a temporary opportunity to extend, I love that, to extend the good, the holy, and the beautiful. In other words, even the body itself can have no purpose except the purpose which the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, which is your right mindedness within you, would give it. So your body doesn't have any other purpose than what your mind gives it. Your body doesn't have any other purpose than what your mind gives it. So your body is not sinful. Your body cannot sin. Your body is not bad. Your body is neutral, and it doesn't have any purpose other than to be a temporary opportunity for you to create some good stuff, some holy stuff, and some beautiful stuff, and to let your right mind, your loving mind, the part of your mind that wants to comfort you, let it give the body the purpose that the body has. Therefore, if you want to experience the body as being at peace, if you want to experience the body as serving only the function of being a communication device for the love of God, if you really want to experience the body correctly, stop seeing the body as your own body. Not only have I been seeing the body as my own body, I've been trying to give it to somebody. I've been trying to make it your body. You know what I'm saying? Can we get real in here? We're going to pretend we're so spiritual we don't know what I'm talking about. We're going to really be that unreal tonight. Okay, please don't. I know you joke, because I know most of you, so you be trying to pretend with me. I know it's your representative sitting in the chair, and not you. So let me get this straight. If I want to experience a peaceful body, I have to stop seeing this body as my body. What does that mean? That means give up the apparent right to make decisions for yourself in regard to the body. We have suggested to you before that you stop using the term my and mine whenever you refer to the body. Stop saying it's my body, stop saying it's mine, and start referring to the body as the body, not my body. It's the body and not my body. Just like a carpenter would pick up a tool like a hammer and a saw, or an artist would say the brush, For the wise carpenter does not identify himself with the hammer, and the wise carpenter doesn't identify himself with the saw, and the wise artist does not feel neglected when they leave the brush laying in the tray. Wisdom then looks upon form as merely temporary communication devices. So when I look around this room at the bodies, I'm looking at your temporary communication device, your temporary communication device, your temporary, notice I didn't say I'm looking at you. I said I'm looking at your temporary communication device and your temporary communication device. And the delight is for you to use that temporary communication device to extend what's good and what's holy and what's beautiful. Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you all think about that? Any questions, any comments? Or that's a step above comments.
Yeah.
We are advanced in here. We make comments. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment?
Come on. Is that a come on?
It's a come on, buddy.
This last sentence,
Mm-hmm.
the delight.
Mm-hmm.
I love, this word has just been coming up for me so often, like delight. I've just been thinking about delight and seeing things with new eyes, and maybe it's my personal experience of being here after being away.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to comment on how excited I am to see this word in this wisdom. The delight is to extend the good, the holy, and the beautiful. So as I'm experiencing delight, to be this device to extend delight.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
It feels like it's a lot easier for me to take the body, this body, less serious. Like, I feel like what this gives me is like a zoomed out perspective of what's really going on.
It's really going down. Yeah.
And that's a refreshing perspective.
And it's refreshing to know that the body is just reflecting ultimately what I'm mentally thinking of and really focusing on. Because I can change the state of the body by just changing the state of the mind. Instead of trying to worry about I love the idea that it's not necessary for me to change everything on the outside of me in order to be healed, happy, and peaceful and loving. That's, to me, that is such good news. Because I have spent my whole life trying to get things outside of me to be the way I think I want them to be in order for me to be happy. I've spent most of my life doing it, and I see most of everybody I know doing it. Everybody. Everybody in here does it, including me. All of us. We're hunting for that next person, that next situation, that next circumstance, that next raise, that next, it's like all of us are busy as we can be, like little beavers, going about the day, like you're saying, not really using my body to extend the good, the beautiful, and the holy. And I'm certainly calling it my body instead of the body. And I'm certainly not seeing it as an outpicturing of mental energy. So it kind of explains why I'm not experiencing peace in my body, because I'm not doing mostly anything that it's saying. So it kind of makes sense that I'm experiencing the opposite of permanent peace. Anybody else? Any thoughts about any of this? Any questions about it?
I'm just struck by the phenomenon of mental energy that is showing up as this body really not being something that I even have the right to determine what it's going to do. It's like, yeah, 'cause what I've done so far hasn't really worked all that well. No wonder if I'm not doing what,
Yeah, if I'm not
supposed
saying
to
it
be doing.
correctly and I'm not doing what it's supposed to be doing and I'm not fulfilling my function for being here, then of course it makes sense that I wouldn't have any kind of consistent happiness. It's just so logical. That's what I love about you. It's so simple. How do you know the world is not governed by any kind of thought that makes any sense? You see so much fear in it. How do I know I'm not thinking correctly? I don't feel total fulfillment. Right? So the source of all illusions can seem to take many forms, yet every illusion, which is any fear or upset, they all have one source, a decision. All of our upset is coming from a decision to perceive oneself as separate from God. So all suffering is a result of seeing myself as separate from love. All illusion is the result of seeing yourself as different from love or different from God, because it teaches that separation is another name for different. Separate is another word for different. Separate means different. So when it says we are separate from each other, it means we believe we're different from each other, and we also believe we're different from love, and also believe we're different from God. And in thinking you're different from God, that brings all of the illusions and pain and fear and lack that you perceive in your life. Not the economy, not whether it's a Democrat or a Republican in office. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of switching back and forth between the two in my lifetime, and I've never seen it make a real difference in how I felt inside. No matter whether it was a Republican president or a Democratic president, I noticed they had absolutely no effect on how I felt about myself. Have you noticed that? But we keep looking at it like there's somebody on the outside that's like almost like little children. There's going to be this big parent who's going to be elected that's going to take care of all of our problems, and we get to blame them like hell if they don't. That sounds just like the relationship I had with my mom. Yeah, so it's hard for me to believe that these folks might be my mom. So there must be many things about you. He said the best way to do that is to, if you want to believe you're separate from love and separate from God, he says the best way to do that is to convince yourself that because you're separate from God, there must be many things about you in your life that are out of alignment. Just like your car can get out of alignment, you can get out of alignment with God. Therefore, you will manifest many variations that seem to express the instability that is the effect of that one belief, that one perception. I am separate from God. I am separate from that which created me. I am separate from love, which means I have accomplished the impossible, because it's absolutely impossible for you to separate yourself from love. And it's impossible to separate yourself from God. So therefore, it's impossible for anything or anyone that loves you to ever leave you or abandon you. It's impossible. Nobody can love you and leave you. It's impossible. Love never abandons. You can't get rid of something that loves you, and you don't want to. Just be with that one for a minute. You've never lost anything that you truly loved. Ever. So it means it's still here, but you might not see it. Wow. Wow. So I've accomplished the impossible, let me keep it in place. So let's hear what it's saying. The minute you think you're really separate from love, he says, then you start to manifest a lot of different variations of instability that reflect back to you that I really have accomplished the impossible. I've been abandoned by that which created me, which is love. So when a person thinks they're separate from love and they're different from love and separate from God, they can tell that they're doing that because of the instability that they perceive in their lives and in their experience. So wherever you see, whatever area of your life that you see as being the most stable is the area of your life where you feel most connected to love. And then the area of your life that looks the most unstable is where you feel the most disconnected from love and the truth. So illusions then, while the form of them may seem to be many, everything that you think of as a problem, even though it may seem to be many, it's really just one illusion. So it looks like you're going through a lot of different things, but you're just going through many different forms of the same thing. Get back on that with me on that one. You're going through a lot of different appearances of the one problem, which is what?
Separate from God.
I think I'm separate from God. I think I'm separate from love. I think I'm separate from that which created me. I love it. You can either dip the water out of the bathtub a teaspoon at a time, or you can pull the plug and let it all go down the drain. And so when you look at every problem in your life as being a reflection of the one problem that you think you're separate from God, then you're getting rid of the cause of all your problems at once, like pulling the plug out of the bathtub. But if you're trying to first think you got a financial problem, and that's different from your health problem, which is different from your job problem, which is different from your career problem, which is different from your car problem. He says that's like dipping the water out of the bathtub a teaspoon at a time. Or you can reach down in the dirty water and yank the whole plug up. And when we hear stuff like what we're talking about tonight, we're dealing with the underlying cause of every problem.
We're emptying that bath water.
We empty that bath water. And the part of you that wants you to drown in the bathtub gonna try to make you not hear this. Okay, you follow what I'm saying? Like if you still want to drown in the bathtub, it's gonna be hard to hear how to pull that plug out. That's gonna be the name of this class. Pull that plug out.
Pull that plug.
Pull that plug out. Cheryl been laughing with me since 1999.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah. Pull that plug out by Broda. Master Yummy. So healing occurs when in the depth of the mind the decision is made to surrender. That means to give up. What does the surrender mean? It means to give up the what? Insane idea that oneself could possibly exist apart from the mind of God. So to surrender means that I'm going to give up the insane idea that I could even exist without being connected to that which created me. I'm going to give up the insane idea that I created myself. I'm going to give up the insane idea that I'm alone. I'm going to give up the insane idea that I am the body. That's an insane idea. Where most people would say are insane for not thinking we are the body. That's why you don't tell them about it when you leave out of here. Okay?
That's right.
I won't just have to come visit you somewhere. Those folks will lock you up. And he black too? I'm taking you straight to the middle. Okay. And here's the chick with blue hair? Oh no, y'all get You better not go to that class. That sounds like a cult if I ever seen one. Never mind what the Pope wears. Okay. That's so funny. So, surrender means to settle into the position of the servant. What does that mean? It means to see yourself as the conduit through which the mind of God and the love of God can be expressed. So to surrender means I'm now seeing myself as a conduit through which the love of God can be expressed. I am now a conduit. And we conduit. That was pretty good, wasn't it? I have to admit, that was clever, wasn't it? I got $1 million of them. Yeah. So we conduit.
Yes, we can do it.
And do we have a comment about that?
Yeah.
So that means the mind that exists in perfect surrender sees absolutely no purpose to any moment of experience except this. What purpose? I'm going to let myself be a conduit through which the mind of love can be expressed. I'm going to see myself as a conduit through which the mind of freedom can be expressed. I'm going to see myself as a conduit through which the mind and thought of abundance can be expressed. That's who I am.
Me too.
And then it says, the mind in perfect surrender looks out upon the world that has been healed from its own misperception that the world has had power over it. So when your mind truly surrenders, then your world is being healed of one misperception that you have. And do you know what that misperception is? That the world has power over you. The one mistake we think is that our friends, our relatives, the world, society has power over us. The one thing a suicide bomber shows you is that that's not true. Because when you're not afraid to die, no one has any power over you. You can never control a person that's not afraid to die. Think about that for a minute. That's the ultimate, I don't care what you think. And that's the ultimate, I'm not going to live by your rules. I'm going to do what I want to do, even with the body. Wow, that's deep. Now, they may use their body for the purpose of what's not good and holy and beautiful, but they're definitely showing us that you are the only one that limits what you do at any given time. That no one controls what you're doing if you're willing to assume responsibility for what you do. Wow. Wow. So if you stop believing that the world has any power over what you think, then you corrected your perception and you'll start to see a healed perception of your world.
One more time, say that.
When you accept that the world has no power, nothing outside of yourself has any power over what you think, then you can allow your healed perception to heal your perception of the world. Because when I'm looking at the world as if I'm responsible for what I see, then I'm in my power. See, it doesn't matter what any of you all think. I can think what I want to think, and you can too. I don't care what we learned as children. I don't care what the world has taught us. We don't have to continue to believe it unless we choose to right now. And you'll be surprised at how much the programming of the world has become your programming, because you'll still find yourself judging yourself by the world's values, even though you're studying this all the time and saying that you're a cutting edge. And you'll still be worried about what somebody thinks about you. That's why I acknowledge you for wearing color this time of year. Right, you're a radical. That's right. Because you know there are people that say you can't wear white in the winter. Who decided that? The person that wants you to buy something else besides white?
Yeah.
So they can make some money?
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me. That Ralph Lauren or whatever his name is would say, I need to wear his stuff to be in fashion. It's the stupidest programming I've ever seen in my life, but people fall for it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Sometimes I wear sweaters to this class that I look back through my picture album and I was wearing it in 1995. I wore it to class last Sunday. And got so many compliments. You wear anything long enough, it'll come back in style.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I got a caveman outfit I'm coming in a couple of weeks. We're going to bring that back. Did you hear that? What is the only mistake that we make that we need to correct in order to heal our perception? The idea that what has control over us? The world has any control over the way we're thinking. It says, he says, then it goes on to say, the mind sees that at no time has it experienced anything but its own outpicturing. So if you want to have a healed mind, which heals everything that's happening to you in every part of your life, all you have to do is say this. At no time am I experiencing anything but my own outpicturing. At no time am I experiencing anything except my own mind's outpicturing. At no time have I ever experienced anything but my own mind's outpicturing. And in the future, I'm never going to experience anything but my own mind's outpicturing. Now I have a healed mind. Now my perception is correct. That's why all events are neutral. It's the mind that interprets the event. That means it's the mind that draws a conclusion and then bases behavior upon that conclusion. So I interpret what's happening in this class tonight. Then I draw a conclusion about what's going on in this class tonight. And then I base my behavior on the conclusion I've interpreted about how you guys are acting tonight. And I call it my way of mastery class last night. And that's what you call it. And all you're doing is interpreting this event, drawing some conclusion about it, and then basing your behavior on it, which might be my behavior is I'm never coming back again, or my behavior is I can't wait to get back again. But that behavior has come from a conclusion that you've made through your interpretation of the class. And that's what you do all day, in every situation, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and even when you're sleeping, you're interpreting your dreams. So you're doing the same thing when you sleep as you're doing when you're awake. So there's no difference between what you're doing when you're asleep and what you're doing when you're awake. Because in both those situations, you're interpreting the event, drawing a conclusion, and then basing your behavior on it. So this is just as much a dream as when you are asleep at night, because you're doing the same thing right now that you do when you're asleep at night. You are what? Interpreting the event, drawing a conclusion, and then basing your behavior on the conclusion that you have made. And your childhood doesn't resemble remotely. Your memory of your childhood doesn't resemble remotely what actually happened in your childhood. Because you're remembering your childhood from a perspective of a child who did not know what was really going on. So when you say you remember your childhood, you don't. You remember the perspective you had as a child of what was going on. You did what? You interpreted an event, you drew a conclusion as a child, and then you base your behavior on that interpretation of that event. And you call it your pattern. That's the fancy name that it goes by. Your pattern. I got my pattern. It's like a quilt. What are you? A person or a quilt? Well, I do kind of use people to keep me warm. You be my blanket tonight, baby.
Oh, nice pattern.
He got a nice pattern. Then I go, my pattern too big. Okay. The mind, and by the way, y'all, I'm going slow because that's the way we're instructed to do it. That rushing through it is the way not to do it. Rushing through it is the way not to hear it. And so you notice as I go slow, you hear it. If there'll be a party, they say, well, speed up. No, if I speed up, you won't hear it. That's why you want me to speed up.
Okay, get on with it now.
What you say? What she say? What you say?
Get on with it.
Hurry up.
Just kidding.
Well, I'm going to interpret you and come to a conclusion. It's going to affect my behavior. So the mind that is healed and rests in surrender looks out upon an innocent world, and that's a world that's been touched by its blessing of forgiveness. What is that? And when you're reading these things, before you get ready to do your analyzation, go, what does that mean? And then read on. That's how you find out what it meant. See, when you stop, you're going to take it and try to fit it into your thought system and analyze it. And you're going to destroy the total meaning of what it just said. It would be better to just keep going because it knows you're not going to understand it. So it says it another way, which is what? That forgiveness is simply a step in which that mind recognizes that the world it had thought was there was nothing more than its own mental creation. So to forgive you means to recognize that what I thought you did was nothing more than my own mental creation in terms of how I interpreted the event. So when I forgive you, that's just me recognizing that I am the one that gave it the meaning. So what I think you have done to me was my mental creation in terms of how I chose to see it. If I walk in the house and my brother attacks me because he's going through a delusional episode of some type, I can look at it as if my brother attacked me, or I can look at it as if my brother was sick and needed help. You see the difference? How I'm relating to it is my mental creation. No matter what the event was, because the event was neutral until I did what? Interpreted the event, drew a conclusion, and then let my behavior be based on that. So if I interpreted that you're trying to hurt me, then I'm going to behave based on that belief. If I believe you're calling for my help because you're insane with fear, then I'm going to behave in a more compassionate way toward what you're going on. It's always my interpretation of the event that causes me to draw a conclusion that I base my behavior on is what I'm doing all day. So forgiveness is just you recognizing you're the one that's giving it the meaning. It's not trying to overlook what I think you did to me, because I'm so spiritual and I've studied 2 paragraphs of the course last year. Okay. Now, this is very difficult for someone that wants to hold a grievance, and it's totally good news for somebody that wants to forgive. So depending on whether you want to forgive or whether you want to hold a grievance, you're feeling uncomfortable right now. If I don't want to forgive what I think my father did as a result of his call for love through what appeared to be alcoholism as a child, then I won't like the idea of thinking that he didn't do anything to me, but it was just my interpretation of what he did that's making me feel my pattern and resentment right now. But if I want to let it go, I'll be glad to know it's another way to look at it that would allow me to let that go in terms of causing me mental and emotional anguish, which is coming from the interpretation of the event and the conclusions that I drew about that that's been making me behave toward my father the way that I have all my life. And now I'm free. And it doesn't matter if my father is no longer in his body. I can forgive him for what he didn't do. What is it that he didn't do? He's not determining the way I'm interpreting the situation right now. So that's what I'm doing. I'm claiming my power. If I'm still holding a grievance against my father, then it's just my refusal to change my interpretation of what happened when I was a child. And what is the one interpretation of what happened when I was a child that I'm still holding on to? The interpretation that is not gone. I'm still acting like my father is still doing the thing that I thought he did to me when he was an alcoholic. Today, even though he's been gone 30 years. And so I'm blaming my misfortune on that. And I'm using that as an excuse not to enjoy my life right now. Now, how much sense does that make, those of you who are listening to me?
That reminds me of, remember what you do, like the trip, the past.
Yeah. Past means gone and the future means not yet. Yeah. It's amazing how many people that I meet all the time that are still suffering from something that's not happening now. And they're so delusional, they're acting like it's still happening now. And they don't realize that the reason why they feel so miserable is because they're using now to remember what happened then. That's why you're unhappy. Not because your mom is still abusing you today, but because you're using the present to remember what you think your mother did to you. Now, you're using your mind to think about that now, so it's controlling how you're behaving and feeling right now. And that's the true meaning of a ghost. You're acting from something that doesn't even exist, that you think are keeping alive in your mind because you are afraid to live your life and take responsibility for it. Those who are afraid to live need an excuse not to. Those who are afraid of love need an excuse not to love. So if I'm afraid to love and I need an excuse not to love, well, how do I get the crappiest person possible to be my mate? Because it'll justify my refusal to love. Because I'm scared to.
Or create a story where everyone is unavailable.
Oh yeah, if they're unavailable, then you don't really have to deal with them.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to have all the misery without having to deal with them jokers.
Right.
Like you're just unavailable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right, okay, so I'm really suffering about nothing that's not there. So let's just say that, let's say there's no date for you on Friday night, right? Okay, like last Friday. Just saying. Okay. And then you call somebody, and then they said for a date, and they said, well, if you call me again, I'm gonna call the police. Okay. So they reject you, right? You get a chance to get your feelings hurt, but actually nothing's happened. You're in the exact same state you were before you called. Nothing's been taken away from you. You already didn't have a date, now you still don't. So nothing's really occurred.
That's right.
So you holding agreements for nothing. I know sanity is just discombobulating. It's like we hear insanity, and so your part of us go, my God, I'm not really crazy. I actually can understand sanity if anybody ever says something to me.
Yeah.
That's what we noticing. Oh, yeah, right. The Course in Miracles teaches that the second coming of Christ is the return of our common sense. That we think it's Christ coming down in the cloud. He said, no, it's just you having some sense again. That's the second coming of Christ. It's so funny that people miss the humor of these books because they're so freaking serious. But there's really, I call them joke books from God. It's like, here's a joke book from God. I'm trying to teach you how to allow yourself to be helped. That's how screwed up you are.
I know.
I gotta teach you how to allow yourself to be loved. That's deep. And then I'm fighting it. Oh, no, you won't. You trying to trick me. You know.
I don't want to be happy.
That's right.
I want my money. I want to be miserable.
That's right. I want to be miserable, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you mess with me too much, I'm going to go out with you. Make you miserable too. Okay. Yeah, but just when I was about to a movie one time, next thing you know, you in a relationship on Facebook. It's deep. You know, people just jump to a conclusion. You know what I'm saying? They be so desperate, you just give them a slight bit of attention. The next thing you know, on Facebook, you engaged. You know? Because we're desperate for love. I need somebody to validate me. I love this. Forgiveness is simply a state in which that mind recognizes what? That the world it had thought was there was nothing more than its own mental creation. So what do you do when you find out that your world is nothing more than your own mental creation and nobody's really doing anything to you? What happens when you really realize that? You smile and you laugh and you see. So when you wake up, you smile, laugh, and see. You smile, laugh, and see. You smile, you laugh, and you see. You smile, you laugh, and you see what? You see that the world has held no power over you. So I know when I'm seeing things clearly in this class by how much joy and laughter is coming through me as I teach. I know how much the perception isn't correct by how little smiles, joys, and laughter that I see. So if you go out with people who are sad, you know you're going out with a person who takes no responsibility for their own happiness, so they'll be holding you responsible and blaming you for everything that doesn't go right before you even pick them up. Because we've already been told, when you're seeing correctly, what happens? You smile, you laugh, and you see that you're not a victim of your world. So there are no private thoughts because a conscious being, all they have to do is observe and they'll know where everybody around them is coming from. When you're with this person, how much smiling, how much laughter, and how much seeing things is going on. You go out on that date, how much are you laughing? How much are you smiling? You hanging out with your friend, how much are you laughing? How much are you smiling? You're on your job, how much are you laughing? Especially when your paycheck comes. That should be the biggest joke of the week. Everybody will be howling on Fridays. You know, if you're seeing it correctly, you laugh at what you're doing to yourself because you know you're the only one that's doing it and you can change it anytime you want to. Wow. Woo! And that all events that have arisen, all interpretations of events have been generated from within what? The kingdom of your mind. Which is what? The one place that's given unto you to assume responsibility for as your domain. My mind is my domain, and I assume total responsibility for what I think. My mind is my kingdom, it's my domain, and I assume 100% responsibility for what I believe and therefore what I am experiencing. I am the king of my domain. Every one of us has a kingdom, and you are the ruler, and your thoughts are the subjects. Each one of you got a kingdom, and your thoughts are your subjects. And you send your thoughts out to bring back to you what you value. You send out your perceptions. Go out, perception, and find me a really loving friendship. Your perception goes out and is looking for friends. And then it brings them back to you. Your perceptions are messengers that you're sending out, and they bring you back what you value. So you see what you value. Whew. Okay. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs.
What I've been experiencing lately is like what you were describing, Earl, that when we take responsibility, more percentage of the time than not, I'm not saying I'm there 100% of the time, it's so easy to see how much pain is out there.
That's the hardest part about it. So when you first start to take responsibility for your own feelings and your own experience and your own perception, you see how much the misery that everyone around you is going through is being self-created.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it. And they're like, and they're not even, it's almost like when you look into their eyes, you can tell they're not looking at nobody. It's like you're looking at people all day who aren't home because they're just looking at the projections and the imagination, things that they are imagining in their own mind. People don't like me. Things just don't go right for me.
But here's the interesting thing.
Go for it.
What if I'm seeing people who bring in a lot of money, so it's almost like that money bears witness for them to continue in that old thought pattern and keep themselves in the prison. Do you see what you're following?
Yeah, I follow what you're saying, and I have to remember to see money as neutral.
Yeah.
It's very important to see money as neutral because it's very tempting to say stuff like, money makes people miserable. They might be rich, but they sure not happy. Well, let me tell you, I've met rich people that was happy as a felock. I don't even know what the hell a felock is, but they're happy. But they, felock sound happy. You know what I'm saying? I've heard that saying. Anybody else heard that saying before? Happy as a felock. I know some black folk have anyway. Some black thing. I know you've heard it, Marjorie. Okay, so. Marjorie's the other token black in my class. I'm the other one. I'm the token black in my own class.
You heard it here.
So I'm gonna say it one more time. I can't get over my racism until I can joke about race.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yep.
I'm telling you. It's as long as you can smile at it, laugh about it, and see it, you're trapped.
Yep.
You're totally trapped and don't even know it. You know. What were you getting ready to say?
Going on with the idea of when you see the sadness in other people, it's you're seeing the sadness in yourself. I mean, today, I read this story about some guy who caught a shark, dragged it up on the beach, and
Please talk louder.
Oh, I'm sorry. I read this story about some guy who grabbed a shark, dragged it up on the beach to have selfies shot. It was right after reading about the people who passed the baby dolphin around and it died while they were having their. And I was outraged. I was hurt. And then I went like, so where am I in this picture? I saw these pictures of these, and I thought, well, where am I in this picture? Because I see it, and it was, I don't know quite how to describe it, but
the dolphin event was neutral. Your
Right.
mind interpreted the dolphin event. It drew a conclusion, and it based its behavior on that conclusion, which was outrage. That's what happened.
it was very painful.
Yeah, it was painful because your mind
I
interpreted
chose to make it.
that
Yeah.
event, and then it drew a conclusion, and then it based its behavior upon it, which was painful.
So then if I take that and then I get on the phone and say, man, did you read this story? And I start to get other people to buy into my illusion.
Right. Then they are interpreting the event that you are describing, drawing their conclusion, and then basing their behavior upon it.
And reinforcing mine.
And then the idea has become stronger because what makes an idea stronger is sharing it. So when you share an idea with somebody and then they choose to join with you on it, you didn't lose the idea, you still have the idea, and now someone else has it too, so now it's bigger. That's why the Course and Way of Mastery constantly tells us you need to share the idea of being joined with God or love. You need to share the idea that you're innocent and you're here to create the good, because it's an idea. And so just like any other idea, if we were to share it with each other, the idea would become stronger. Since everything is a reflection of an idea, we would create those ideas of love as our physical reality faster than ever. If we looked at this like we had 90 minutes together to share ideas that will free all of us, then that's how we become each other's saviors. And that's what we're doing when we come here on a Tuesday or a Sunday. That's exactly what we're doing. We're focusing on ideas that we like to see happen, instead of focusing on the ideas that we no longer want to happen, which is what we're seeing on TV and all of that. There are ideas that we no longer want to happen. Worrying is creating what you don't want. That's all you're doing when you're worrying. You're just creating what you don't want, unless you're using the worry itself to recognize there's something about your thinking that needs to be shifted. Then it's okay to bring that worry thought up and look at it. But not, it's just to recognize that something needs to be done. Not so that you can get lost and drown in it.
Thank you.
Well, how can I see this differently, right?
Yeah. You know, in order to get rid of a headache, you might have to recognize you got one just so you'll know to go take the aspirin or whatever. But if you had a headache and you just stared at the aspirin, you'd never get over it. And that's what we do. We bring the problem up, but we just stare at the solution. Really, I read that. I just talked about that last week in a workshop. I just talked about taking that aspirin. Wow, how come my headache's not gone? That's what we do. Anybody else? I love to hear how you think. It's frightening, but I need to hear it.
So what would be the solution with Peter's, what he brought to life? We understood that we're seeing something and our behavior is being determined from what it is that we recognize that we're seeing. So what would
will the next step be?
Yeah, because I wrote down a note.
Okay.
Could it be?
The next step would be to ask Holy Spirit, higher power, what did it want you to do? What does it want you to say? Where do you want me to go? Who do you want me to say it to? So then, if you felt so inclined to do whatever you thought was necessary to support that not happening to dolphins again, then you would go do that, but from a place of total peace and assuming responsibility for your feelings about it. So it doesn't mean you'll necessarily be passive in terms of how you deal with it unless you are instructed to be. Some people are instructed to take the role of what we perceive as activists. And some people change the world by meditating or coming to a class like you're doing tonight, just working on their consciousness. Some people are told to go protest physically, and some people are told don't. And you'll know which one you are by what gives you the most peace to do. If it would give you more peace to be at a rally, then go to the rally. If it would give you more peace not to go to the rally, then don't go to the rally after you've asked what to do. But remember, your feelings about the rally is coming from what? Your mind interpreting the event, drawing a conclusion, and then basing this behavior upon that conclusion. That's healed perception, and that will free you. Because your world is going to reflect your thinking. So if I free all of you in my mind, I'll create a world that frees me, because I'll be attracted to other people who value freedom. That's how you get away from around people you don't like. Don't be a person you don't like. And most people are people they don't like,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
That's why you're looking for somebody else to love them.
Yeah.
I don't love me, will you? And I want to make sure you do it full time.
Yeah.
So you better not even look at nobody else, right? Because I need full time validation. You know, I'm like a parking ticket. And for $7 you can park the whole weekend.
Just make sure you're gone Monday morning.
$7. Oh, that's a bargain.
Just make sure you're gone by Monday morning. It's when the rates go up. See, how can you tell when you see and hear this correctly? You laugh, you smile, and you see. You know? So, tonight you heard to a large degree, exactly how to have the kind of world that you want. And start out by saying, I have the body. And start out by saying everything you're looking at is nothing but a mental image that's the outpicturing of your own mind. And every problem that I have right now is coming from my perception that I am different from love, different from God, and different from everyone else. So let's acknowledge us right now. We did it. We made it through this much. It was deep. I really want to acknowledge y'all. This is some intense stuff that we're hearing. And you all are pretty much staying present. And so am I. That's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
That's a freaking miracle. That's right. You would have thought I was talking about the Broncos or something. I'm proud of y'all.
You weren't?
Yeah. That was almost Bronco level excitement. That's what I've been praying for in here. All right. So let's do the financial expression of appreciation. Thank you for doing that with me. Those of you online who would like to do that, because I am a full-time teacher and I really appreciate you all being seeing value in what I do enough to share, and I feel like it's a sacrifice that you're being ripped off. Why would you come to a class of somebody you thought was ripping you off? That doesn't make much sense, does it? Anyway, those online, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can also make a financial expression of appreciation. And I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, which is about helping you remove the blocks to the awareness of everything that will make you happy and allowing it to happen. And if you're open to it, I also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology as another way of receiving intuitive information.
I have one Thursday.
I look forward to it. Yeah, I look forward to it. Why wouldn't somebody look forward to doing a session with you? Yeah, with that much joy and enthusiasm. Because that's what brings the best out of me is appreciation, like the same thing that brings the best out of you. I'm no different from you. Whatever you think I'm giving you, I would give you more if I felt more appreciated. And the same thing is true about you. So just remember that I appreciate you. I truly appreciate you. The Course in Miracles says that the result of not appreciating something is that it will leave your life. And then you're going to be tempted to blame it. But it was really your own lack of true appreciation, which was a form of saying, I no longer want it, or I no longer want you. So someone I'm constantly criticizing is someone I'm saying I don't want you. And then when it leaves, you all bent out of shape. Because all they had to do was change the way you wanted them to. And everything would have been all right. See how crazy that is? You know, oh, you mean the fact that you're telling me constantly something's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to be okay with that? Because that's what you're saying. When you say constantly, you need to change. You need to change. It's your fault. You need to change. You need to change. What am I saying? You are wrong. You are wrong. You are not enough. You are not okay. You are not enough. You are not okay. You are not enough. And you're surprised that that person or thing would leave your life? You are saying, I don't want you. I don't want you. You are not satisfying. I don't want you. The way you are is not okay. You need to change. Something's wrong with you. And then we don't do it that calmly. We usually do it with a lot more energy than what I just did. And then we're like shocked. Or especially then we see it with somebody else. We just really trip out. You know, somebody else is appreciating them. You're like, huh! You know, I've seen men mistreat the women in their life and then be jealous as heck if another person even look at them. Now, I'm not treating you right. I'm not giving you any love. But at the same time, I'm mad if I see anybody even look like they're appreciating you. How cruel is that? I'm not going to appreciate you, and I don't want anybody else to do it either.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And if you start to love yourself for real, you won't put up with it for 2 seconds at all. And you certainly won't be attracted to them, no matter what they look like, almost. Okay, before we go ahead and get out of here, brothers and sisters, would anybody care to share spontaneously something that they heard tonight in their own words that they'd like to remember?
The body.
The body. We're going to try to say as much as possible the body instead of my body. Anybody else?
The out-picturing, the stream of out-picturing that I created.
That you're looking at your own out-picturing right now.
Yeah.
You know how you can tell when you really heard that? You'll jump up and down with joy because you know that you could allow everything in your life to change into something that's much more fulfilling for you. Because you'll no longer feel like it depends on anything but you thinking differently. And that's how I can always tell when I'm really getting something that the people around me are getting it. Because if we really heard what we heard tonight, it would totally inspire us and make us not feel like we're trapped in anything that we're going through right now. But the Course says that when you've been a prisoner on the desert, starved and emaciated and without water, that you don't jump up the instantly you're rescued. It takes you a while to realize you've been saved. You see what I'm saying? That's us. It's like we've been out of our peace and happiness and fulfillment so long. We like the person on the desert that they just came with the canteen and we're not ready to jog yet. So we can still hear it and go. You see what I mean?
Or I wonder if I'm hallucinating.
Right.
Like,
Right.
this is really what.
Yeah, exactly. He says that too, that you think it's a hallucination, that what we're hearing is not true. Yeah, good point. Good point. Anybody else? Anything they heard?
The world has no control over me.
The world has no control over you. The world has no control over you. You're giving it control over you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
With a cleansed perception, the body becomes transparent and no longer a barrier or obstacle.
And one day you're gonna meet somebody and he just gonna look right through your body. That'll be something, won't it? Because a lot of times people stop at the body. They don't even get past the body. You know, they stop. He said we stop at the Course says we stop at the outside form of nothing. I went, that's cold. Don't you call me no outside form of nothing. Anybody else? That's right. I'm something.
Don't stop that.
Right. Anybody else?
The interpretation of the event, the drawing of the conclusion, basing my behavior. Right?
Yes,
And
I
that's
love that.
the mind, I love that.
I love that too. That's what I want to think about. Because just think about no matter what you said to me, Peter, I could give you that same answer. No matter what you said. Even when you added more people, I still could go, Peter, that was the mind interpreting the event, drawing a conclusion, and then basing your behavior on it. See, that's a universal law. A universal law is a rule that applies to everyone equally, no matter what. Even your dog is doing it. Your cat is doing it. They're still, whatever's going on, they're still the one that's determining how they see it and then how they're going to behave. That's why, they see me and then they want to scratch me. You know what I'm saying? It's because that cat interpreted you. That's why it scratched you. Everything is doing this. Why did the bird fly away? The bird interpreted you as something that it drew a conclusion and need to get away from. It's all consciousness. So we're all doing the same thing all the time. But then he's saying, well, what you want to do is you want to go, all right, this is the body, and I would like for it to be used to create and extend. It's a conduit. I'm a conduit for the good and the beautiful and the holy to come through me, because what comes through me must have an effect on me. All right?
Yay!
All right, y'all. Thanks for coming out tonight. Let's give it up to her. Whoa! I'm so glad to look at you through the eyes of love.